Yeah, let's try that again, shall we? What's going on, guys? It's 5:14 p.m. It's 7th of May, Saturday, day before Mother's Day. We were John C. Roseman, California, yada yada yada. Days like this are kind of hard to deal with. Not the day before, but usually the day of, because we have mothers to celebrate. We have mothers to give our undying appreciation and our undying love of and appreciation of what they've all done for us in many ways, shape, or form. The hardest thing for a lot of us who have lost our mothers throughout our lifetimes is to celebrate that day even with other loved ones when we have our own families. But for the ones who actually don't have families, have just lost them, and it's kind of hard for them to deal with. I can honestly say that the pain and anguish is great. Mem- um, Memories of our lost loved ones are almost just as powerful as dealing with the emotions of celebrating them when they were alive. They say that grief is love that hasn't been expressed or actually has nowhere to be expressed, especially when it comes down for the loss of our loved ones. Now, in a lot of my videos I've been doing, if you've noticed the camera angles left and right, you notice that the HUD is always in there. Or most of the time anyway, the HUD is in there. And I would have my family pictures in there. A way of celebrating my family one way or another. Celebrating their lives, dedications of what they've done, um, memories, feelings, and not to mention the triggers I would run into to cry about them a great deal. Mother's Day is not exactly one of those days that when you've lost a mother that you're able to celebrate it. Unless, of course, you already have your own family and it's hard to celebrate it, but you try to as best as you can. Because if you do have a family and you've already lost your matriarch, sometimes it's kind of hard to smile on some of those days. I haven't been through that kind of experience. The only experience I know is loss of family, and that's it. And when you have no family, you have nothing to celebrate Mother's Day with. Everyone else, you can try celebrating and wishing Mother's Day left and right to them, and try to mean it wholeheartedly. But you know, in your own heart, that's where it hurts the most. How can I actually honestly say to someone, Happy Mother's Day, and truly mean it, when I know in my heart that I'm selfish and self-centered and still holding on to the grief and pain? A lot of people have said in their own different ways, in their own different postings and expressions, one way or another, from time immemorial, I guess, that just get on with it, move forward, don't dwell in the past. But I hate to tell you, but it's hard to hell. It's hard as hell to deal with that. I've seen it. I've heard it. Too many people have told me about that one. Growing up as a kid, I've had adults do that to me. I've had other adults do that to me. I've had other professionals try to tell me to get over my grief. It usually starts from the first time you start missing someone. And for me, well, me. But that's one thing. And then you got your uncles and your aunts and your grandmas, and it tears and breaks at your heart. A few cousins here and there, and you see more and more of the older generation before you pass away. Not to mention the cousins that are next. And among them are the mothers in their own way. Even adopted surrogate mothers as well. So all the time growing up to the point where you are in the adult stage, the pain of loss, they always keep telling us, move forward, move forward. Don't dwell in the past. Don't dwell in the past. Keep moving forward. Don't dwell in the pain. Don't dwell in the pain. I hate to tell you something, but sometimes you have to turn around and face it. I'm sorry, but you have to turn around and face it and deal with it. You have to come to terms. You have to come to grips. You have to understand that mortality is finite. You just can't keep running along and just keep missing out on everything else happens along the way. Just keep running and running and running, and then by the time you've done that, you've lost everything else in the between. You've lost memories. You've lost sight of everything else that was supposed to be pivotal somehow in your growth. But you just ran up towards death, and death says, take a breath. Take a last breath. And then when you start remembering, it's what happened with everything else. Because schmuck, you told everybody else to, if I'm remembering some of your words at this point over here, keep going forward. Don't look back. The only things you can take with you are your memories and your feelings. And you can't take back, you can't take with you the death of all your physical accomplishments or rewards or anything else like that. It's the heart and soul that stores all the memories that you've made along the way. And sometimes you have to stop for a moment to commemorate, commiserate. You have to look at what you've lost compared to what is right now. Because that way you're still able to hold on to the special moments of your life that meant something to you, that motivated you one way or another. Perhaps a mother did tell you or tried to show you a way for something. Or, in the opposite, maybe she did something that pissed you off. Regrets suck as well. And those go along with the package. Everything that you've remembered, everything that you are, everything that you built up in your memories, you bring with you. For me, looking at Mother's Day is, I'm looking at the past. I'm looking at memories of my own mother, of what she meant to me. Besides doing a ton of videos that I've already posted a great deal of and talking about my life. And rehashing them all over again. That's how it feels. That I know in this lifetime I'll leave the stories of those behind, that maybe some of my own generations, if there are any, if any of the bloodline still exists or cares, that they would look at them and wonder how things went in my time, and how did I deal with the matriarch of the family and my own matriarch. How did I deal with my own mother in certain circumstances? How did I deal with my own grandmother when she was getting older and we'd have some time together with each other. The hardest thing for me to think about is my grandmother sometimes, because I hardly ever spent that much time with her. Maybe a trip up to Wyoming when I barely remembered the travel going up there and back in a car. There's snow up there in Rock Springs, Wyoming, back in the 70s, back in the early 70s. Oh, our matriarch was going to see the family one way or another. We're going to spend Thanksgiving. Had it screwed up, and then we had to have a separate Thanksgiving somewhere else down the road. But we had it with each other. A few times coming over to her house, even spending the night sometimes. Just spending time with my grandmother that way. She'd always have a spare room ready for me, a day bed. She'd have plenty of toys, Lincoln Logs, that's spider monkeys. Um, Different construction toys that dealt with wood and plastic. Tinker Toys. Tinker Toys. You make certain things out of them. Hell, I even made bows and arrows out of them. But even Lego. Certain things my grandmother would have with me during those days. Even during those days, we learned how to eat on TV trays. But we spent time with family. Even going out sometimes to dinner. It'd be a steakhouse or two we'd go to, an area of Bell. Ma, Dave, me, and Grandma. Enjoy a good steak while we could afford it. But there had been times when Grandma and Aunt May finally paired up, even just for a few years, in the life of a little boy, still growing up. That he could wake up in the morning and see the two ladies he loves. Well, three, actually. Ma with a bad back. Grandma and Aunt May with her medical conditions. Aunt May, I don't think ever had kids. Ida Mae Marshall, I don't think she ever had kids. Because I don't remember them. But Grandma, Clara Marshall, she did. She did. It was important for me to remember some of those things because sometimes I kept thinking I wanted to go back to those days, and when I was living in those days of being a kid, I wanted to know what was tomorrow was like. I wanted to know what, well, if things were going to be working out alright because I wasn't quite sure. Go to an elementary school where people hate your guts. Most of the neighborhood hate my guts, and I didn't realize why. One particular family, the Reeves, God, God be with them. Long gone out of my history now. And I even grieve their mother's passing. Right after my own mother's passing. And I Fuck hell. You talk about being adopted by a loving mother and her family. And both of them share each other's kids. We shared each other's adventures, and trials and troubles as well. At least for the beginning 20 years. After that, things got spotty. However, it was a mother that I definitely had a hell of a lot of respect for. She didn't yell at me. She didn't curse at me. She didn't bother. She had a lot of respect for her friend, which was my mother. Ma would be doing the disciplining. Dee would discipline her own kids. But in the end, I was raised by two mothers. Makes the whole season harder to deal with. I've had cousins who are mothers as well. And I wish them Mother's Day as well. A happy one. But I cannot have a happy one. I have a somber one. Somber because I am stuck in the past with my memories of my family. I feel like I haven't gone forward enough in my life. What's even worse is when I start thinking about how death is taking an active interest in a hell of a lot of people around. I don't know if he's going to be looking at me or not. I'm wondering if he should take me or not. I don't know if he wants to or not. I'm not looking forward to chasing death. At least I don't have an inkling for it. I don't have a happy Mother's Day video to give out to people who are expecting a lot of positive. I have a very realistic one. We deal with and we celebrate as best as we can. We mourn and we cry. That's to be expected. If we can do something in relationship to our parents, if we can honor them in any way, shape, or form, even if they are dead, a special meal perhaps. My mother liked bacon and eggs. Well, the bacon I got right now sucks. I got spam and eggs. And she did like pancakes. Wasn't too crazy about waffles. But for me, chicken and rice dish that church had made a long time ago. I'm going to see if I can convert it into something that my crock pot can actually cook. I'm hoping my mother's spirit's going to be around during that time. Because I sure as don't want to screw that one up. I don't want to. But I do want to say, with all my heart and soul and mind, I miss him, I love him, And I wish every mother out there alive and passing, happy Mother's Day. The hardest thing for me to do is to talk about it. Another thing to do is to keep the tears back. This is not going to be a short video. This is definitely a long video. This is not one of those happy where you just say, Happy New Year. Yeah. Happy something. Nah. No. Happy Mother's Day to all those who are living and dead, and soon to be mothers. Anyway, take care.